Try your hand at the best collection of horror movie trivia on the internet. The best thing about it is it's totally free. app.horrorpubtrivia.com.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 14 of Empire of the Full Moon. I'm Mike Cadaver, and Empire of the Full Moon, if you haven't heard about it, I talk about something having to do with Charles Band's work, whether it be Empire International Pictures or Full Moon Features, or one of these days I'm going to talk about the Delirium magazine and maybe some other stuff, maybe some collectibles or something like that. Anyway, this episode, it's kind of a strange movie. It is a Full Moon feature, but it seems more like an Empire picture because, first of all, it's got Stuart Gordon. It's written by Dennis Paoli. It stars Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. But no, it's not Reanimator and it's not From Beyond. It is Castle Freak from 1995. And before we get into it, I just want to say, I know I'm trying to make these a little bit shorter, so bear with me. There's just a lot to talk about with all of these movies, I swear to you. Also, do me a favor and just subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. That would make me so happy. I'm not going to stop doing them if you don't subscribe, but it still would just make a guy happy. How about that? Anyways, okay. Like I said, we're going to be talking about Castle Freak, which is the first. Okay, so this is this point that I'm about to make is kind of controversial. I looked on the internet, and basically, some places say this was the last one with Paramount. Some places say that it's the first one without Paramount. So it's kind of in that. Well, the Paramount Pictures deal kind of ended at the same time that this was being made. In fact, if you look in the book Confessions of a Puppet Master, it's all explained there, and so I think this was actually the first one without them. It was distributed by Full Moon Entertainment, and he said that the mid-90s brought along its own kind of challenges. First of all, being he was glad to be out of the Paramount deal because they were kind of, it was great in the beginning, but the further it went on, the less lucrative it was for Charles Band and Full Moon Features. So it got to a point where maybe it wasn't the best thing anymore. But the reason that this stopped is because, Full Moon Features, if you think about it, they're kind of, listful, like they're just fun, like music, the soundtracks are kind of like ding ding ding. It's kind of fun, lighthearted comedies a little bit. But this one was a very dark and a very I don't know, just dark feeling. It wasn't fun at all. It was a great character study and it was a great story, but this isn't what Paramount had come to expect from Full Moon Features. And so basically Paramount came to the Full Moon Features office, and they didn't know anything about it, that it was being produced. But so they walked in, they saw this stuff, they're like, bro, we don't like this. So that's kind of how it turned out. So I assume, like I said, some places it says one thing, some places it says another. I'm assuming, because I read that this was the first one that was created outside of the Paramount deal, but this might be the last one. So, and I couldn't find a definitive thing because I would ask one, I would Google it one time and in different sites would say different things. So I'm just going to kind of understand that I don't know the answer to that, and I guess I'm good with that. Anyways, this is the third movie that was like I said, that was directed by Stuart Gordon, written by Dennis Paoli, starred Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, and this is a totally different one. It's also, at this point, Stuart Gordon was starting to make some like pretty awesome movies like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and some of that other kind of stuff. But he was like, hey, Charles Band's like, hey, come back, make this one for us. And even though it is a low budget movie, I think the budget was like $500,000 or something like that, and I don't know what that is in '94 monies, but you know what I'm saying. But he's like, yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. When I made Reanimator, it went to theaters, and that's one of the first ones that had gone to theaters and was successful, that was sent there like unrated, and I mean, it was successful overall. I can't remember exactly how it did in the theaters alone. Obviously, it's a cult classic now. We all love it. Anyway, so, but he's like, listen, y'all come do this. If basically I can have whoever I want to come on, and I can do whatever I want with it, and I want it to turn out exactly how I want it to. And Charles Band say, listen, that's cool, because I'll give you total control, and I trust you, and all this other stuff. So, he did it. Like I said, okay, so basically this is the third one with all of those people, but Stuart Gordon had worked on like Reanimator, From Beyond, Dolls, The Pit and the Pendulum, and to be honest with you, Jeffrey Combs was in that, and one of the people who starred in this one, what was his name? Oh, shoot. Jonathan Fuller was also in that one. Jonathan Fuller played Antonio in The Pit and the Pendulum, but here he plays the actual freak, which is weird because the first one he was like a totally different character. But anyways, awesome. This was also filmed at the same place that The Pit and the Pendulum was filmed at, Castle Giove, which is what Charles Band owned at the time, and we've talked a few times about that. Albert Band and Charles Band produced this one. It was based loosely off H.P. Lovecraft's The Outsider. But I think that it just took a few cues from it as opposed to like being based on it. I mean, I've never read the whole thing, but I've read like the Cliff's Note. Did I just say Cliff's Notes? I mean, how old am I, right? Because those even, I don't even think they exist anymore. But, so I read like the synopsis of it. And yeah, there's some things that they have in common, but it's not a kind of a telling of the story. And finally, before we get into the movie, in very, practical and classic Charles Band form, this movie was conceived with a poster and a title. And, when Stuart Gordon's like, hey man, what is this? What is this movie about? He goes, that's a castle and there's a freak in it. And that's the only direction I'm going to give you. So go ahead and make it. And make it he did. And we'll see if it... I mean, I love the movie. Spoiler already. But why don't we get into a trailer real quick and watch that, and we'll come back to talk about it.
Stuart Gordon, the director of Fortress, The Pit and the Pendulum, and Reanimator, takes you into the dungeons of Castle Dorsino. Now an American family.
Welcome to Castle Riley, lady.
Will inherit a legacy of evil.
They say the castle is haunted.
And a master of modern horror. Will unleash his most terrifying creation. Stuart Gordon's Castle Freak.
There's somebody else here! There's somebody in the castle!
We want you to search the castle. Giorgio Dorsino. He was never buried. She kept him alive. He's here somewhere in the castle. There is a madman in there, and my family is in danger.
Reanimators Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton. In Stuart Gordon's Castle Freak.
All right, you just saw the trailer for Castle Freak from 1995. Right now, with about 11,000 votes, there is a 5.9 on IMDb, which to me, I guess I could see it because it's not for everyone. But in my opinion, Okay, so in my opinion, it didn't seem like it's as big of a story as some of the other ones, the other Lovecraft and that Stuart Gordon and Dennis Paoli did. This is kind of just not like a one location necessarily. Well, it's mostly a one location, except for that location's a huge freaking castle. So take that for what you will, but this is not having to do with other dimensions and her bringing back the dead and all this other stuff. It's kind of more of a human drama, so it's kind of on a smaller scale. But I still think it's. Is it my favorite out of those? Maybe not, but I do love it regardless. So this starred Jeffrey Combs as John Riley, Barbara Crampton as Susan Riley, Jonathan Fuller, like I said, as the Freak, and Jessica Dollarhide as Rebecca Riley, who is the daughter, and we'll get into the story right now. John Riley, his wife, and their blind teenage daughter Rebecca inherit a centuries-old castle in Italy after the death of a distant relative. Well, 9 months earlier, John was driving drunk with his kids in the car, and he got distracted, of course, got into an accident, and killed his son, and he blinded his teenage daughter. So that put a little bit of strain on the marriage, and so they're not really getting along, Susan and John. But John is hoping, hey, listen, we just inherited a castle. Maybe this is a good luck omen, and maybe it'll be a good way for us to start over again and go from there. And I don't want to give away too much of the story. I won't go into the details about, like, the dark details about, because it's kind of a mystery. So as we're watching it, there is a mystery of who the freak is and all this stuff. So I won't go in there, but just know there is a deformed, lonely, and tormented man that was imprisoned in the castle dungeon. And the woman, who was the ancestor, or I guess the relative, to John Riley, kept it rotting in a cell, feeding it and then beating it with a whip on a daily basis. That is the freak who lives in a castle. I mean, I could think of more respectable names than Castle Freak, but that's great. The thing about him is nobody knows about him, because the only person who knew about him passed away, and that's why John and his family are there now. Anyway, so the remainder of the story kind of focuses on a couple of things: finding out who the Castle Freak is, why he's in prison, and kind of a potential redemption story for John when it comes to his life and his family. There are murders, some of the wildest, darkest, and most depraved scenes in any full moon feature ever, including anything including up to today. But what's the secret of the Castle Freak? Will John be able to patch up his broken marriage? How horny would you be if you had been chained up in a dungeon for over 40 years? Find out by watching Castle Freak from 1995. So like I said, this one is in a time where we've had full moon features. I think the first one came out in 1989 with the first Puppet Master, right? Now it's 1995, so we have 6 years of full moon features coming out in this. So they have, we all know what a full moon feature is. When you say full moon feature, we kind of have an idea that it's going to be fun and maybe light, and it's going to be cool and whatever. But this is like none of that. This is dark. It's not fun. It's gritty. It's gnarly, and it's gruesome. Like, there's a couple of parts on here. Well, there's a couple of like gore parts that are really hard to watch. There's also a couple of like really dark, like, painful parts to watch, because you just feel so bad for this family. You feel so bad for the dad, and it's just really tough to watch. So I mean, it goes places that that a lot of other full moon features haven't, or not even to this day, like I said. But they did a great job on the Freak costume, right? It's disgusting, slobbery. It's mutilated on his face. You got a back that's all messed up, and it's walking around like a Castle Freak would, but it's disgusting, and it is gross, and it is scary, and it's funny. I mean, you see way too much of it, if you know what I mean. But you got to really credit Jonathan Fuller, because of the way it moves. Adds a lot of creepiness to it, and adds a lot of credence to how scary that is. My only problem with him is he's been down there for 40 plus years, right? And so what happens, I mean, I'll tell you, so he gets loose and he starts kind of skulking around the castle, right? It's a castle, so there's like a bunch of passageways, secret stuff like that. And he hides certain places. My only question is, why can no one smell him? Because he's got to stink like really bad. So there's a couple of times I'm like, I swear that I would be smelling him. But I mean, the daughter can sense it, but maybe that's because he makes a small sound. But then he's hiding in the room, room and the dad can't. So anyway, long story short, that dude probably smelly. Let's see. The thing is in one thing also about this is you can look at him as kind of a sympathetic character, this freak who's been abused for 40 years. And there's even a part where he finds out that the daughter's blind. And so he kind of shows some emotion about that, but then that all goes out the door. Once you find out what he can, what his first instinct is to do with I'll say with a woman, both times that he comes into contact with them. Anyways, it's disgusting. I will let you watch it and find out for yourself, because I'm not going to explain that. Richard Band did the score, but it doesn't seem like a Full Moon score. It's a lot more serious. I don't know what is the word where, like the 3/4 Puppet Master theme. It's fun. It's kind of light. It's really just kind of fun to listen to. This one is just pure score. It's like, this is just for the movie. It does a great job. Don't get me wrong. The score does really well, but I think it's a lot different because I think the tone of the movie's a lot different. And so there you go. Optic Nerve made the makeup effects. John Vulich and Glenn Hentrich, who worked with Alchemy Effects, did all that stuff, and they did a great job. One thing I will say about this is, if you're thinking about quitting drinking, and this is the movie to watch, because Jeffrey Combs' character literally ruins his life 2 times because he drinks too much, and I'll just leave it at that. Anyways, there's a video zone in there. There's cool behind the scenes. We got the makeup being put on Jonathan Fuller, interviews, and it's just a fun thing. It's always weird to me to like watch the behind the scenes of such a dark, like any dark movie, right? And then see them in the background kind of talking, having fun, and just doing that, because it's always like, oh my gosh, because when I'm watching this movie, it's kind of icky, and then here they are just kind of, having a good time. But all in all, I think this is a great movie. It's, like I said, it's kind of it's a smaller story. Like I said, it's more compact, more limited to just one area, and it's all about the family dynamics there. It's not about the elder gods and stuff like that, which I'll talk about in 1 minute, actually. But you have to love Jeffrey Combs. He is an amazing actor, and I even met him one time, and he was like so nice to me for no. I guess I was at a horror convention, but he was nice, asking me questions, and I'm like, bro, you don't gotta pretend. I even said, you don't gotta pretend to be nice to me, man. Okay, he goes, no, man, this is. I'm just like, oh, that's pretty nice. Also, he's super short. Anyway. But I love this movie, so you need to go check that out. But I do want to spend a minute, even though I said that we're going to make this a little bit shorter, and we're not actually at all. But I wanted to mention that there was a 2020 remake, and actually, it was a different story. It did have a castle freak, and there is a castle freak, and it was produced by Charles Band and Full Moon Entertainment. So here's the thing. This movie, the original 1995 version, had a little bit of The Outsider in it, right? Well, this 2020 remake, who was, like I said, produced by Charles Band, was also produced by Barbara Crampton as well. So, I think they did a really, really great job with a lot of things on this movie. And I'll mention those real quick. So basically, they added a little bit more story to it. This has to do with... it's kind of a mixture between the Dunwich Horror and, you got Lavinia Waitley and Lavinia Waitley and Yog Sothoth and the Necronomicon in this. And you also have a little bit of The Outsider, which is the Castle Freak. But the thing is, in the remake, the story is amazing. If you know the story of the twins in the Dunwich Horror, it kind of has to do with that. Well, it totally has to do with that. But I thought it was just a really good just addition to the original story, but it does make it a lot about not necessarily the characters, but it makes it a lot bigger of a story as well. Whereas it also talks about a town with a cult in it, which H.P. Lovecraft movies want to do. But yeah, the story was really great. There is a problem that I did have with it, and so in my opinion, if I were to watch these two in a row, I love the original so very much, right? I love it. I love Jeffrey Combs. I love Barbara Crampton, and it's just wonderful. And the family story is amazing, and it's heartbreaking, and the ending is heartbreaking, and all this other stuff. What the 2020 remake did is what's been happening a lot with a lot of remakes, and I'll mention a few real quick. If you guys remember the 2022 Hellraiser movie, right? So basically, that movie is great. It adds a little bit more in-depth stuff about the configurations of the La Marchand box, and so you can kind of say, oh, there's these 6 little configurations, and once you hit this last one, all hell breaks loose, pun intended. But the thing is the original movie on that was it was a human story. It was a human story about Frank and Julia and their dynamic with the dad, and how Frank was so just over this planet, over this dimension, and he just wanted these pleasures of the flesh, right? That he went out and he went and found this, the La Marchand box, and it just meant a lot. Whereas in the remake, instead of a family, instead of like a lot of cool characters, it was just a bunch of drugged out 20-somethings that happened upon the box. And it just, I feel like the biggest slap in the face in that one is the 20-something drug-addled children that I can't identify with. They're awful. And so another one to talk about that's done this recently is The Crow from 2024, where it's like, you remember back in the 1994 version how the girl who dies in that one is like, she's just presented as such a kind soul, like that is out for other people, and just the most wonderful pure soul, that when she dies, we're all like, oh no, Eric Draven needs to go out and he needs to get revenge and blah blah. I totally get it. Well, in the remake, it was all about 20-something drug-addled losers. So it's like, I didn't like that at all. And the thing is, too, is like, maybe they're trying to go for the young kid, listen, I'm not trying to bag on you young kids, but the tragic, like, broken person, it doesn't appeal to me. And that's what that was all about. So I'm just like, hey, you should have thrown her away, man. But, it's not like Skarsgård was any better than that. But this remake had the same problem. The story was deeper. It delved way farther into the Lovecraft mythos, all this stuff. But there was not one character in this from the beginning that I liked. Eventually, I started to like one, but the rest of them are just pieces of garbage around him, right? And it's just so it's like, so I'm kind of torn at this one, because it's like, it sucks, but the story is really pretty good. So that's all I'll say about it. I'll let you guys go ahead and make your decision on that one. But if I were you, I would go make sure to check out at least the original Castle Freak if you haven't. I love it. But that's really all I have for this episode. So do me a favor, like I said, go subscribe. Go check out corpsecollective.com and check out the other stuff we have going on over there. But that's it. So I will catch you guys later.